Hello and welcome back everybody from a Racing DP and from a Racing GP here, doing a few broadcastings of the From a Racing Test session, second one of the evening of the assists allowed, but obviously we have got no assist users in the lobby as well. Now a couple of things that we wanted to go through at the start of the last broadcast but we weren't able to. Just want to go through the settings at the bottom. Now for the World Championship, when it comes to our league races, there will be no practice session before qualifying. Qualifying will be set to short qualifying, but race distances for World Championship and World Series will be 50%. We've got it on 25 for the test sessions just so we can get through a couple of different tracks. Car performance will be set to equal for all of the divisions. Formation lap at the moment will be on because it helps the broadcast team. Safety car, that's one that is under question at the moment. We want to have it on, but we may not be able to have it on for World Championship and World Series. Collisions will be on for all of the divisions, and vehicle damage will be on full for all of the divisions. Weather, that's going to be dynamic for all of the divisions. The AI difficulty will be set to very easy, but I'll recap on that in a moment. Parc Fermé rules for league races will be set to on. That's for all divisions, I believe, World Championship and the reserves, World Series and the reserves. And the corner cutting stringency will be on strict. There will also be front row racing rules, additional rules applied, so things like exceeding track limits, drivers being able to report their competitors for that during qualifying and the race, reporting collisions. Be careful of touching that bit on your mic, Steve, it's making noise. Yeah, being able to report collisions, being able to report incorrect penalties given to them, and so on. Now, with the AI difficulty, I mentioned that we've got it on very easy, and this is something that we've talked about. If someone gets disconnected and their car stays on the track, if it's on very easy, the car will basically be so slow that everyone else can drive away from it. But as soon as you get a few laps into the race, the leaders are going to catch it up and all hell's going to break loose. If you increase the difficulty level of it, it starts to become a little more competitive against some of the drivers, as Steve's showing now, like medium, hard, expert. It becomes competitive and also potentially causes carnage. You could have a safety car situation where you end up with an AI car leading the race. Now, one of the things that I think that Codemasters really should do is, in that particular setting where you've got very easy is the lowest setting, there should be another one after very easy, which is off. Which means if you get disconnected, your car disappears straight away. That's what I've been ranting and raving about that Codemasters should do. In that setting, put off. Solves so many issues and problems. There was a few other bits about the AI difficulty there as well, but we won't harp on too much about that. Instead, for this test session, I reckon we try and focus a bit more on what is happening on the track. So I think we're about ready to hit ready, aren't we, Steve? We're going to send them to Abu Dhabi because, as you said, we've just done the track which is at the start of the season. So now we'll do the one that is at the end of the season. And I have been told, as well that a few drivers have found Abu Dhabi quite an interesting one because some of the curbs are a little bit evil around here. So it'll be interesting to see how the guys get on there. Okay, the drivers are now readying up, so thank you guys. This is how we like to do it. The lobby host clicks ready, lets everybody know that broadcasters are ready to go, the settings should be correct, and everybody gets to go. Because when it comes to us broadcasting league races, before the broadcasters and the commentary team even get to the track, we'd like to give them enough time to go through current standings, constructors standings, perhaps discuss any incidents or collisions that happened in the previous race, go through all of the drivers that are competing in that race. And one of the things that we started doing last season was we start broadcasts early, so at about 7:25 to give the broadcast team a bit of extra time before the start of the session, and we will continue to do that. I mean, if we can start earlier we will, but by the drivers waiting for the lobby host to click ready, if we have any problems with the broadcast on YouTube or delaying for a driver, or I mean, not that we'd probably do that, but any kind of hold up that's the way that the drivers will know. As soon as the lobby host clicks ready, it's time to go, rather than ending up going into qualifying and having to restart. But yeah, I reckon we'll try and perhaps focus a little more about what happens on track this time. Don't you reckon, Steve?
That might be a good idea. It's about time we gave some of these drivers some credit for what they can actually do, I reckon.
Oh, I don't know about that. That's pushing it.
For 10th here to crash it on the line.
Well, yeah. I mean, he said he's going to show everybody how it's done. So, time to put your words into action. But yeah. Now, I'm guessing you had the session settings on official timing, as I mentioned earlier on.
Yeah.
As RDB has only just joined, unfortunately he would only be able to spectate at this time, but if he hangs about he would be able to take part in the race. And I must admit, I mean, quite often you'll see a situation like this where a driver will join and then go, oh, the qualifying session started, right, I'll leave. Whereas really sometimes what might be a good idea is to go, oh, I can't get on the track in qualifying. I know, I'll watch a few people, because then you might watch someone and go, oh, so that's how they're going faster around that corner than me. Or you might pick up things that you could learn, or see something really dodgy. But there's no harm in watching people at times and seeing how people get on. But yeah, with the official timings, that means that this qualifying session should start in daylight, and it's already beginning to get a little bit darker as the floodlights take over from the sun.
So what makes me wonder with this qualifying session, with the sun going down, does it make the track faster at the start of the qualifying session than it would do at the end?
I think there's so many different factors to that. You'll have some people say it's quicker at the start, some say it's quicker at the end. I mean, while the sun is out, obviously it's beaming heat onto the track, and quite a lot of the time, the warmer the track, the more grip. But obviously there's a limit to that. You get to a point where it's too hot for the tyres. So that's where setups become so effective. If you've got a car set up to handle the higher temperatures, then it could be quicker at the start and slower at the end as the temperature drops. But if you've got a car that's set up to cope better with the cooler temperatures, then you'll go faster as it gets dark. So it's an interesting one. I mean, Spain's a circuit that gets talked a lot about for that, where when it's cold in Spain the track can be slower, but when it's hotter the track can have a lot more grip. And then there's a certain temperature where if you go above that, it's just awful for pretty much everybody. So it is very much track specific and setup specific, as Dan Evans is about to start a flying lap here going around turn 1. And I think Dan Evans, I'm going to commentate his cursing me, I think Dan Evans has been perhaps surprising a few people of late. He's been getting involved in the Formula Racing Project Cars Leagues, and he's been showing he's got some pace on project cars. But not only that, in quite a few of the test sessions that we've already done in the off-season, again he's been showing that he's got quite a bit of pace. So he could be one to keep an eye on. I mean, I had someone message me earlier today asking who's looking quick in the World Series. And it's not an easy question to answer. Not because we haven't been watching people on track, I mean, I have. But it's more a case of, okay, we've been doing a number of different tracks, and some people will have a setup and some won't. That'll have a big effect. But also, I don't know if it's a bit of a changing of the guard, but some people who perhaps struggled a little bit last season have been showing a little bit of pace, and some people who have been showing a little pace have perhaps looked a little bit slower. But there could be any number of factors to do with all of that. So I think for many, for anyone that wants an answer to that question regarding World Championship and World Series in front row racing, it's probably going to come down to the final week before the league really gets started, because in that week we'll host sessions more at Australia, giving people the opportunity to sort of race against everybody else or test against everybody else and see who's got what kind of pace. That'll give them an idea. But then it's a lot like real Formula One, where you won't really know until you get to that first race, as Dan Evans puts in a 1:41.
Now, one thing I did ask Dan Evans was, I actually mentioned to him, you look like you've got a bit of pace on this game, this version of the game. And he says, well, to be fair, I haven't. He said what he said was, I've not actually put that much practice in. I'm just going with stock setups. And if this is what he can do with stock setups, just think what it's going to be like when he has put the time in.
Yeah.
And he has put his own setups.
Yeah, I mean, anyone that watches Sky F1, you'll have heard Crofty ask Ant Davidson and even Paul di Resta quite often about chasing a setup through practice sessions, and how, yes, it can be a good thing, but if you're not careful, it can be a really bad thing. And obviously, one of the things with the F1 games, 10th fear, I've just seen him cut a corner by a massive amount. I think he may have invalidated his lap time. It has, and he's into the pits, and that's where he'll tell us I meant that. So for someone like Dan Evans, if he's showing pace on the stock setups, there is that possibility that he'll start making tweaks and changes to it, thinking it's going to help him to go faster, but actually find it goes the opposite way. And then he's going to have to try and chase the setup to get it back to where it should have been, and then try and improve it again. So you can get yourself into a bit of a sort of a head-screwing situation when it comes to doing setups and getting the cars ready for the track. I mean, should we tell people about what happened with you doing practice at Australia?
No.
You're thinking, what are you on about? What are you on about?
Remember.
Where you said
you're
to
on about me driving in a certain car and then.
I'm on about when you were saying I'm driving this particular car and I don't seem to be going as quick as everybody else, and then you realised, oh, hang on, yeah, I've been doing it in single player, and I've been looking at their online times, and obviously there is a big difference between single race or career mode, what the cars are capable of compared to equal online cars.
Yeah, I mean, just to clear that up a bit, I mean, obviously if I'm driving, say, the Renault offline, it's going to be a lot slower than the Renault online. So yeah, not that I'm picking the Renault.
Yeah.
Or am I?
Ooh. Well, I had someone say to me earlier today as well, they asked me if I thought the Renault reminds me a little bit of the old Jordan. And when I thought about it, I was like, you know what? It kind of does in a way, but that's probably just because it's yellow. I mean, I did used to really like the old Jordan as Casey crosses the line with the 142, but he's on super soft tyres, whereas Dan Evans was on the ultra soft tyre. Dan Evans, he's now in third on the ultra soft tyre, as Hindle's gone second on the super soft, and Mr. Hamilton 44 has gone provisional pole on the super soft. And I mean, Mr. Hamilton 44, he showed some phenomenal pace in the final World Championship race last season around this track. I mean, he put in a lap time that sort of made everybody go, ooh, okay. Now, admittedly, I think for all of the other drivers, as much as there were still battles to be had, it was probably, there could have been a factor of, it's the end of the season. Whereas for Mr. Hamilton 44, it was like, I'm in as a reserve, I need to show what I can do, and he did. And that's one of the reasons why he's been offered a World Championship seat for this coming season. But yeah, going back to the Jordan, I did really like how the Jordan used to look with its little snake nose. But I did remind
Damon Hill was driving it.
Yeah, when Hill was there. Obviously, there were many more other versions of Jordan-owned cars prior to that, but the yellow Jordan one, that was a good-looking car. But I did remind him as well that the reason the Renault is yellow is because when Renault first joined Formula One, they had a yellow car. I mean, you know this quite well as well, don't you, Steve? I mean, Renault's official car colour is
blue.
Blue. Well, what do you get if you mix blue and green and something else and make it yellow?
I don't know, brown.
Probably.
No, but Renault's official car colour is yellow. what you tend to find is when you watch the adverts when they're doing the Renault Sport adverts, they do tend to be in yellow on that as well.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Hamilton 44 has just gone and improved on his lap time a little bit, put himself a little further away in first place. I'm trying to think. I think last season's World Championship pole time was around about the 1:38. Now, we didn't have the choice of an ultra soft tyre last season, but it's interesting that he's sitting on provisional pole with the super soft tyre at the moment, as I'm watching Jamie James go through the hairpin. He's a driver that I think I'll probably be keeping a keen eye on this coming season. Because for anyone that's fairly recent to front row racing, whether that be within the last season or 2 seasons, you may not know sort of the full story of Jamie James, which is he recently, or you may have heard people talking about, he's recently changed to a wheel, and he did not last season, the season before. Now, when he was using his pad for the 2 or 3 seasons, for sort of seasons 2, 3, 4 and 5, I think it would have been, basically he was a title contender for pretty much all of the seasons, up there with myself and Kev 187. So he was always to be fair, he was the fastest pad user, wasn't he? In all the divisions by quite some way. Very, very competitive, but he took on that challenge of going onto the wheel, and it took a while to get used to it. But last season he really got into the groove of things and was able to get back to winning races. And I think this, I wouldn't go as far as to say it's a make or break season for him, because it's not by a long shot, but this is a season where if he continues his rate of progression, he's going to be winning more than 2 races this season. On the other side, he's got the difficulty of the likes of Casely, who I've got on board at the moment, who's currently sitting in 7th place and gone a little bit slower in Sector 1. But Casely, who's been showing some very good pace, he came into the World Series last season and opened a few people's eyes, I think. I mean, he's a guy as well that, how he did it I don't know, but he basically jumped on a wheel and got on with it very, very quickly. When he was doing the Project Cars Leagues and people in there found out that that was his first race on the wheel, they couldn't believe it. So he's going to be one to keep an eye on in the World Championship as well.
I can actually just fill you in a little on something on that. When he was on his PS3, he had the DFGT wheel.
That'd be why
when he sold his PS3 and changed over to PS4, he couldn't afford the T300 straight away. And that's the one he wanted, so he waited till he could get his hands on a T300. So that's why he was on a pad for a while. Yeah, and that would also explain why when he did go onto the wheel, he was able to sort of hit the ground running. Temp Fear, I've just started watching on the ultra soft tyre now, but just gone massively deep at the corner before the hotel, so putting a bit of pain through those ultra soft. I mean, you were talking about temperature. The ultra softs are effectively the faster tyre, but on a track like this one where the temperatures can be very high, they might not be able to handle it. I mean, if you do a qualifying lap, as Hindle is also now on the ultra soft, if you're doing a qualifying lap on the ultra soft tyre and that's your fastest lap, you're starting the race on it. Well, if they're knackered after 5 laps, you're only going to get 2 laps in the race, and then you're going to have to pit. I was just thinking that, because I mean, you've done an out lap, your fastest lap, and an in lap, and they're only good for 5 laps, so you're going to be pitting on lap 2 in the race. Yeah.
So it could be interesting to see who does use ultra soft tyres when they are available. I mean, Hindle's given it a good go here. Gets around that corner better than Temp Fear did. Now, Hindle is in the World Series for Season 7, but he's also said he's going to take part in the World Championship Reserves, which, being in there, means he'll be entitled to be a reserve driver in the World Championship, but also there's a possibility of him, on occasion, being the admin's pick reserve driver in the World Championship. And he's a guy that could mix up the race order a little bit. It'll be very interesting to see how he gets on. Mr. Hamilton 40. Sorry, go on.
Just very quickly, with Hindle, he was one of the beta testers, and he has said that he believes that it's quicker to race with no assists on, and it's why he himself wants to get to grips with racing with no assists. And if he starts racing in the World Series, which is assists allowed, without assists, because he can gets to grips with it, he's going to be even quicker than he was last season.
Yeah, I mean, last season I do know he was working on knocking a few assists off as he was going along, but quite often he would say, like, he's took the assists off and he's lost a couple of seconds on lap time. which is why I think what he's doing this season, I mean, he had the opportunity to move up to the World Championship, and once he'd done his beta testing, opted against it. So what he's doing actually isn't that stupid of a thing, really. He's going to compete in the World Series, where he's got the option of using assists if he wants to, but he's also said he'll take part in the World Championship reserves, which means that he can practice with his no assists without it costing him points, effectively, and he'll be able to keep a good eye on what his pace is like, relevant to the World Championship drivers. I mean, he's currently sat in first place, but you have to remember he may have some assists on. Everybody's like, get him off, lad. I hope you're on about his assists and not his clothes. I know it's hot, but we don't need no naked driving, thank you very much. Oh, got a yellow flag waving around the final corner. I can't see exactly what that's for, but Mr. Hamilton 44. Right, okay. Mr. Hamilton 44. He's on another flying lap now on the ultra soft tyre. Yeah, there was one of the guys in the FRR chat today that was saying, I think it might have been Stocking, who was saying that he thinks that driving with no assists is quicker. However, driving with assists on is quicker at the moment. So if you use assists to begin with, you'll be able to go quicker than those that have no assists. But once the no assist guys get used to it, they'll be able to go quicker. Now, I've seen on the forums there's been a lot of discussions as well about, okay, if guys are using assists, maybe they should have some kind of disadvantage. Now, I don't think they should necessarily just have a Bosch, you've got traction control off, here's half a second off your lap time, because that's only effective if having an assist, it allows you to go too fast, effectively. Now, I do know that there are some racing games out there where some of the things they can do. Sorry, just hang on a second. Mr. Hamilton turn about across the line. Is he going to... Yeah, takes pole position back with a 39.1. And Hindle's retired, so he's not going to be able to do out about that. And Dan Evs is on an out lap on the ultra soft tyre. F1 Roadrunner's just completed one. Is he? No, he's on one now. So I'll put the camera on him while he's doing this lap. Yeah, I do know that there's a few games out there that, like for people that are setting up leagues, what they're able to do is they're able to add a weight deficit or a weight penalty. So if you put traction control on, your car weighs a couple of kilos heavier. You put ABS on, it's another couple of kilos, and so on. And that's because having those things on in those games can be it's a ridiculously massive benefit. And it's not just on lap time, but it's on tyre wear, which if you can go 5 laps longer than someone without ABS, that becomes an advantage. You're available for 2 stops, they're doing 3 stops, so there's so many factors to it. But I actually kind of liked that one, because that's kind of a penalty system, which is okay, if you want to use assist, that's fine, but your car's going to weigh a bit more, it's going to go a little bit slower, right, to negate that. But what you could do is, and it's kind of like saying, okay, you use the assist, we'll penalise you, but you know what, if you take them off and you get used to it, your car will weigh a bit lighter and it will go a bit quicker. So it's kind of like an incentive in many respects, as Roadrunner trying to negate a Williams who's just absolutely nailed a brake marker board. I'm not sure exactly who that may have been, but F1 Roadrunner about to complete his lap a little bit sideways, and his lap was invalidated, which I didn't see, so that's a shame for him. As Dan Evs, he's on his flying lap now, but we're now being kicked back to, or out of the pit lane. Interesting note for you as well, Steve. Doesn't matter who you're watching. It's like I was watching Dan Evs in 3rd place, and it has just put me on board with Mr. Hamilton 44. So it looks like it doesn't keep hold of who you were watching. It puts you on the leader. And let's see, Dan Evs. I mean, he's got this lap to do. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on. So let's see, at the moment we've got Dan Evs 4th, David Harp's got himself up to, well, I was going to say 5th, but it'll only show me the names of guys on track, so that's not entirely correct. So you can't do that either. See, Kingsley.
Bear in mind as well that you don't know what sector times they're doing now.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. Where's the rev counter?
Yeah, that is a good point.
Now, it could just be because we haven't actually retired or anything like that.
No, you've got to be on board camera, not spectator, not the broadcast.
I have seen it show. It has shown it on broadcast view before.
Oh, right. Okay.
So maybe it's something to do with the end of the qualifying bit. So yeah, fourth is for Dan Evs. So we can, let's see who else we've got. Dave the Hart. His lap is over. Case laying over Dyking into the pits. So that's pretty much qualifying over.
The last one across the line.
Okay.
When the timer went.
I mean, having the rev counter on the screen, it's handy because you can tell if someone is out of fuel or whether they're perhaps going to be pitting soon or not. I mean, one of the things I would be interested, I think that they could add, now I am being picky, right? What happens in real life when an F1 driver just drives into the pits without telling his team he's pitting?
The pit crew's not ready.
Exactly. Now, if they added that onto the online bit, you've got to tell them that you're pitting. If not, your pit stop's going to take longer. It'll annoy a few people. But at the same time,
I had a theory a few games ago that I thought it did that, and I was testing it a few times because now you called, say, I'm boxing this lap.
Yeah.
I thought actually was my pit stops were a few tenths quicker when I told them I was boxing this lap.
Yeah.
But after testing it often enough, there wasn't a pattern to it, so it was just random.
Yep.
But yeah, I do think that it would be good if you don't pit within your pit window or don't tell them that it's this lap you're coming in, then yeah.
Now, something I do know that a few people have mentioned is that when a qualifying is over, sometimes cars continue to go around the circuit, which if it doesn't add tyre wear, it's not a problem. But something I would perhaps advise people to do while they're practicing is, just before they complete their final flying lap, have a look at what your tyre wear is, and then as soon as the formation lap begins, have a look at what your tyre wear is. Okay, I need to jump out quickly, Steve, so if you want to take them through the grid.
Everybody is on the ultra softs apart from Roadrunner and Caseley. So we've got Hamilton on pole position with Hindle second, Tempvier third, Dan Evs fourth, Jamie James fifth, GT5 King sixth, F1 Roadrunner in seventh, Dave the Arp eighth, Caseley ninth, MG Mikey T 10th, Adam 4600 11th, Overdyking with no time, so we'll have choice of tyre. And then there's the two commentators' cars at the back there as well. So this race is twilight race, isn't it? So we'll be starting in daylight, finishing in night time.
Yep.
We're just loading through to have a look at the strategy in a moment. So I'm assuming it will say one stop as it tends to for most 25% races.
And for anyone that's watching this and hasn't seen any of our other test sessions, and you're wondering why Steve was just talking about grid order and we're looking at the online multiplayer selection screen, it's because this is what we kind of have to do to be able to watch the start of the race. So I'm waiting for Steve to let me know when the formation lap gets going. No, actually, yeah, we will. I won't bother coming in too soon. It'll make a mess of the session.
We're not rolling yet. We're just waiting for a few people to click that they're ready. We've got about 10 seconds countdown going. If they're not clicked, then it will get going rather soon anyway.
Now this is where as well it'd be good if, like, as a broadcaster, as a streamer, you could select a picture from your gallery which you could put on the screen at any time. So like if you wanted to do a podcast for your PS4, is the formation lap moving yet, Steve?
We've just got moving now.
Okay, yeah, so, or for example, where it'll bring up a blue screen like that, have, for example, a Front Row Racing logo, World Championship or World Series kind of advertisement image. So now I am getting picky, but it would make things a lot more pretty when doing live streams on a PlayStation 4.
Or even the constructors and the drivers standings.
Yeah, from previous event. Yeah, I mean, that's something that would be absolutely brilliant. That would be if I, because go on.
Just noticing quite a few drivers are leaving this session now. I'm not sure if that's because they've seen that you've left, so they thought that they needed to leave, but that's their problem.
Oh no, Hindle, he's messaged us saying a lot of us just got blue screened, and that is something that is a major problem with the FR, not the FR, with the F1 2016 lobby situation at the moment. And let's see. Yeah, I mean,
looks by the looks of it, drivers are trying to rejoin. But if I don't know whether they're going to be able to rejoin their cars until after about that too.
Well, I'll tell you what, if they try rejoining, let's see if they're able to rejoin and take control of their cars. Now, Overdyking, he's saying that his game actually froze. That's a bigger problem, because that means turning the station off and turning it back on. But we'll use this as a little bit of a test. At the end of this is what we're doing. It's a test session, we're testing different things. And obviously everybody knows of the reports of game crashes on F1 2016 since the patch, since the update in the patch, which it is a major problem. But I don't want to stop just yet, because I do want to see if anyone's able to get back in. But this also may give me a perfect opportunity to emphasise what my rant has been about over the last week.
But before you do, am I the only one, me and you, the only ones that reset the game, restarted the game?
Possibly. I mean, that's something. I mean, we did turn our games off and reloaded the games, so that could be why we didn't have a blue screen problem, and others may have done as the race gets underway. But what I'm interested to know now is how many of these cars on the grid are actually controlled by an AI car. As I've just seen a Sauber appear out of nowhere. Now, one thing that we might not get, okay, they did say, Codemasters did say that they've added a symbol next to the driver's name for when an AI car is in control. Well, I've got Lewis Hamilton here. So here's one AI car, and let's see, it's got K-Slay behind him. So this AI car now is on a very easy level, but is now a mobile chicane. If it was on a higher level, it'd obviously be more competitive. But this is now an AI car that is competing in the race, waiting for his owner to come back and take control. And it's a situation that really should not be in place, to be honest.
We've only got 4 humans driving.
Yeah, which I mean, it's only showing me as Lewis Hamilton being the only AI car at the moment that I can actually go and view. But
I can't view any AI cars.
Yeah, well, Hindle's saying that he can't get back in his car. You see, now the situation for them might be similar to what happens to myself as the broadcaster, in that my car was pulled off to the side of the road and you can't get back in it. You can't take over control again. All you can do is spectate everybody else. Now, for whoever was driving Lewis Hamilton's car, maybe their disconnection happened at a slightly different time. So, yeah, the AI bit, they got to get rid of that. Because at the moment we've got Lewis Hamilton driving around who shouldn't be. Regarding the game freezing or game crashing, they need to fix that, because we've got 4 or 5 guys that should be in this race and can't be. So I wonder how those guys are feeling that Lewis Hamilton would effectively score more points in this race than they do. Now, what I would say,
I haven't seen any cars stationary.
Okay.
Oh, hang on, no, we have at the end of this straight a Sauber.
Sauber. Is that at the end of the long straight? That's gone a long way then.
Yeah, that's your Sauber.
Right, let's now what I would suggest we'll do, we'll set up a new lobby in a moment. For anyone that's watching this, or you're in chat groups with any of the guys, oh, it's down at near the hairpin. It looks like it's sideways as well. But yeah, okay, so there's my car. At least my car's off the track, well out of the way. As I said already, at Monaco it would be in the middle of the track. K-Slay said he got his back but was getting blue flagged. That's because the AI cars are shocking. Right, okay, we'll set up another session without a qualifying session. We'll do a race around here. But for any of the guys, do a reload of your game, close your application. We'll see if that helps out at all. Obviously it's a feature that was a problem on F1 2016 and is potentially still a problem on 2016, so it may be a case that we do have to say for season 7 to the drivers, again, look, just to be safe, reload your game before you join any of the league races, because on the off chance that it could cause a problem, it kind of will be tough on yourself. But then also there's the problem of, well, if their car is going to end up on the track, it goes into that whole situation again. And to be honest, that's something that us admins, we've got to have a look at and come up with a few potential solves in that situation, when really the best solve is that Codemasters get rid of it. Anyway, I'm going to end this live stream so that I can reload my game. So I would advise everybody else to reload theirs as well, and we'll fire up another live stream in a few minutes' time.